evening, everyone. We'll now call this meeting of the County Council to order. Please join me in saying Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first order of business this evening will be the election of officers for 2024. Do I have a nomination for president? Jim?
I'll make a motion for Sharon Cranfield.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for Sharon. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Sharon? Want to come take this spot?
Your seat.
I will pass the gavel.
You're in the hot seat, Sharon.
And you want to do the same thing I just did, only for vice president. Do we have a motion for vice president this evening?
I'll nominate Kate.
Jim?
I'll nominate Bob Stewart.
I'll second Tim's. Okay.
I'll second Jim's motion.
Okay, so that is 2 and 2.
We just do one at a time.
Just take the first one that was made, which was, I can't remember now. I think it was
Tim.
Tim.
Oh, okay, Tim.
Tim's was first. Tim made the motion, and it was seconded by Scott.
No, seconded by Kate.
Or, so, I apologize, seconded by Kay. That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
We'll just go ahead and see who votes for that. See if it
Okay.
passes.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Can we do a roll call, please?
Roll call. Okay. Okay, Winter?
No.
Okay. Patterson?
Yeah. Yes.
Wolf?
No.
Bevington?
No.
Riker Payton?
Yes.
Cranfield? No. Okay. So now you take the second motion. Okay. So now, so I'll do roll call vote again this time, and then it would be for Bob. Bob said, right? Yes. Okay, so Winter?
Yes.
Patterson?
Yes.
Wolf?
Yes.
Bevington?
Yes.
Riker Payton?
No.
Cranfield? Yes. Okay. So that one passed. So Vice President will be Bob Stewart. Proceed. All right. We would like to approve the minutes. Has everyone have an opportunity to go over the minutes of last month?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Minutes are passed. Do we have any mail? Okay. No mail. All right. Do we have any comments from the county attorney?
You do not yet.
Okay. So we will move on to reports. The committee reports. Are there any committee reports to be reported on this evening? Nope. Okay, we will move on to commissioners, representatives. Mr. Strong.
Hi, everybody. Commissioners' meeting was rather brief today comparatively to others, but we did approve 3 144s today in the Health Department. We approved the action recommended by Matt Shirk to move Missy Kavanaugh into the county nurse position now, and Gail Markham as the new fuel liaison. And that takes care of a couple of missing links in the health department's serviceability there. We also approved the hire of Miss Hannah Glover to fill an empty position in the auditor's office, and we all welcome Hannah to the group here. Other than that, we did receive the coroner's annual report. I don't know if any of you have seen that yet or not.
Yeah.
And we made a number of annual board appointments. And I can run through all that we did if you would like. But the ones of particular interest to some of you here tonight, I think, would be the Eastern Indiana Regional Planning Commission. We appointed myself, Scott Bevington, Krista Gibson, Dan Parker, and Jim Spence to continue as, for another year on the Eastern Indiana Regional Planning Commission. Other than that, there was, I don't remember right now any changes that were made in any of the others. I guess that was it. So I can give you the complete list, send the complete list to you if you'd like it. Jane has already revised the list and sent it to us on email, and that can be forwarded to you. Other than that, it was a pretty quiet day. Okay.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to transfers, additionals, and reductions, and there were none on the agenda. And Mr. Burgess has wants to present a 144 to us this evening.
Hello. I've got a 144 here for this new year for the program coordinator position for the drug court. The DOC advisory board met last year when we were going over all of our grant monies and developing our budgets and everything for the year. We put in for a little over $1,000, ends up being $1,038 increase to the position to bring it up to an even $46,000 for the year. Voted on by the board, approved. That budget was sent out to DOC and approved for the calendar year 2024. But I didn't have a 144 generated for the county because I don't really know how this stuff works very well. So I have one here for you guys to review and approve. If there's any questions on it, I'm more than happy to answer them. I just don't really know exactly what it is. I need to be telling you guys. So I don't know if you guys have any questions for me now.
You just asking for the 144, or do you already have it first?
This is for my positions for the court coordinator position. We do have, we had a new hire just a little over a month ago for a part-time case manager position, but that money's already been sorted and dealt with for last year. So.
Did I understand you said this is to be funded by grant money?
This money comes out of project income for the program because the grant funds are capped at a certain amount per DOC. For the position currently, it's $35,875-ish for the position that they pay for out of grant funds, and then any difference in the pay comes out of the project income that the drug court generates.
It's similar to what Steve Bills came in December and did with community corrections, only Brandon didn't realize he had to do that himself. I think he thought maybe Steve was doing it for all the grants, and so that's
We
good.
normally get together as a crew and do it all together.
I'll make a motion to approve Brandon's 144.
I'll second.
I think I should pass that one.
All in favor? There was a first and a second.
Madam President, have you sent the minutes around to be signed?
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, he's asking for the minutes to be sent down.
Yes.
So,
first was by Kay, and the second was by Jim. So is everyone else vote for the 144 for Brandon Burgess?
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor? Okay, aye.
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 Thank you, guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, and old business is the stipend in lieu of the health insurance. Okay. And this is something we've talked about, and I think
That's
Mr.
the
Wolf wanted
original.
to table it.
Yeah, leave it just like it is. Just way they get paid.
In what, I'm sorry?
So you want to oppose the ordinance?
Yeah, I want those board and so on.
So you want to give them people money and just not have them document or prove where this money's being spent?
This has been working for how long?
You have a business, Jim. You have to have receipts for what you do as a business owner, do you not?
Yeah, receipt stuff, but it was a stipend.
That's what this is, that's the same.
How's it been going the last 3 or 4 years?
Smoothly well for people that don't have the document what to spend the money on. Everybody else, the taxpayers we want to know what they're spending the money on.
You want to see it again?
No, I think
To approve it.
Oh, you want to see it
Yeah, I
then?
always got, yeah, so I didn't bring one.
All right.
No, we passed it to revise the ordinance that passed.
The
To
wording.
revise the ordinance and
How many people does this affect? 2,
No.
3, how many?
Well, she can tell us here in a second. She's.
Just to sign. So what the auditor is properly bringing to my attention, because I'm working on my memory and it's not that great, anyways, but her notes, or the minutes, previous minutes, which I think you guys have approved, stated that you actually passed this ordinance already. There was an ordinance presented, you disapproved that ordinance, but then you voted to modify the ordinance with these changes. And we just didn't have that document in front of us. Is that everybody else's recollection? I don't have a very strong recollection on that, so I'm going to rely on you guys. But her notes are always pretty spot on, and that's what her notes say. If you want to read that paragraph.
Yeah. Do you want to read it or you want me to pass it around?
I'll read the paragraph.
Oh, the minutes, the Councilman Winter moved to revise the ordinance that an employee has to show proof that they have purchased a Medicare supplement policy and will be reimbursed up to and not to exceed amounts listed after proving actual cost. Councilwoman Ricker Payton seconded the motion. Motion carried 6-0. So the question with why the ordinance was being sent around to be voted on is it was just to make sure that the wording was what you wanted it to be. But the motion to require proof has already passed. So like not approving that ordinance won't change that this motion was already passed.
It was just the wording, right?
Yes.
I thought it was about the amount from the discussion we had last month that Jim tabled, or we tabled.
Okay, this was passed in November to require proof.
What did we table in December that had to do with the insurance?
The actual ordinance, the way it was reworded.
So we can
Nobody
table
read
the
it.
rewording again.
That's a legal question, Jeff. I don't know. I'm saying it's already passed.
Well, the question is, and I don't know, the question is, and that language leaves a little bit of ambiguity. The question is, did you guys pass Mr. Winter's motion to create an ordinance with that language in it? You see what I'm saying? Versus did you pass an ordinance that actually, did you say we want an ordinance and we're passing an ordinance that says this, we'll create the ordinance?
The discussion was, well, how much do they get now? What's the,
$280 for a single person or $495 for a married person, I believe.
okay, so if a person wasn't spending that full amount, they were getting it regardless, because they didn't have to prove anything. Now we're saying you have to prove it, and you get up to $280 or up to $4.
$495.
$495.
Right, which
You just have to show proof that you spent it.
Yeah, it's a receipt.
Okay, let me ask a question. If they have to spend additional money out of their pocket for medicine, will that be paid? Up to you say for $4.95 for a family member.
That's, yeah, that's the part that we tabled. what
It
he's
would
talking
be
about.
the way
That's what I
it would be
was-
the way this is worded now. The way the revised version is worded says that they can receive the stipend after providing proof of payment of a Medicare supplement policy or qualifying out-of-pocket expenses.
So that would be paid, is that right, Mr. Attorney?
Yes.
Okay.
So any medical, essentially qualified medical expenses is almost every medical expense. Probably
Okay.
not going to be covered Advil or Tylenol, that kind of stuff. But
Is
anything
what?
It probably won't cover like Advil or Tylenol.
Right, I agree.
But
with that.
any prescription would, to
Okay.
me, is very
That's where
clearly an
the-
out-of-pocket medical expense.
That's what I want to see put in there.
That's what she has.
That's
Okay,
the way it's worded.
okay, if that's the way it is, I'm.
And that's after age 65 also. Employees 65 years of age and older. Because some of us are
I'm not the
older.
most well-versed on what you guys are, how this is being received, so I think that this only
Right.
applies to 65 years and older.
Yeah, because it says
Right.
the minute.
And
So it's-
so,
it's-
and Mr. Wolf had a question that I don't think was heard, but I've heard it before. How many employees does this affect?
2 or 3.
Currently, 2.
2. Okay.
But that can change at any time. if
Well,
anybody
no, I
turns
understand.
60.
I understand, but
Because
it's
at
a
one time
question
we-
he
At one
asked.
time, we had like 5, so, you
Yeah.
know,
It was a question he asked. I wanted to just make sure it was answered.
yeah.
So then, are we moving to pass this, or are we moving to?
In the interest of making extreme clarity, I would. I
Okay,
would pass that in specific exact language in that document, that ordinance.
okay. So
We
does,
voted on the language.
okay, so
Are you
as,
okay now with this?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I know that.
okay, so as quoted and specified in this language, do we want to make a move to go ahead and pass this ordinance?
I'll make a motion, we pass ordinance 2024-01.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so moved. The Glenwood Water Project. Everyone, we're gonna sign this too, pass it around.
The ordinance.
Sign this one here.
Yeah.
You sign it, then you have
Are you here for the
I am.
Glenwood Water Project?
Go back, I'll move it. I'll just keep it.
So I'm back again. We had a meeting before Christmas to talk about, meet with the interested parties. I would say it went fairly well. I know we had at least 3 council people that were with us, correct?
Yeah.
Me, Scott, and Tim.
Tim?
Yep.
And, you know, we have our bullet points that we're running through to commitments that we made. You know, within the next week, we'll be meeting with Connorsville to confirm that the work that we're currently doing with the city is tracking with their expectations. And then once they have confirmed that, we will go ahead and implement the Rushville upgrades that would be necessary and present those to Brad and his team to confirm that they're on board with our recommendations. And then following that meeting, probably the week after, we'll be meeting with the city of Rushville in Rush County to present those numbers to them so that they would have an idea of what their financial commitment to Connorsville would need to be in order for this to be a feasible project to move the water line past Glenwood. Where we left it was Scott had recommended that the county might be interested in up to $350,000, assuming that there was only 4. Would that be right?
3 others.
Yeah,
Us and 3 others.
yeah, 350 before, and then if it got to 6, obviously those numbers would come down. So I'm here tonight to seek the council's blessing in the form of a, not to exceed, a commitment that we can take that to, it would be nothing, no financial commitments right now to obligate money, but it would be that, I could go to the other interested parties and say that if they get involved, the county has offered to go up to $350,000. And every new entity that comes on board, obviously that number goes down. I think that 3 additional would be fairly easy if with the county on board. I would see that number being more 5 or 6 if we got some of the economic developments as well and RDCs and interested parties on that route. So that's what I'm here tonight for, and happy to take any questions or answer anything. And Kay, I confirmed on our end, and I've got a message out to Mary right now. From a consulting standpoint, that we've received nothing from IFA. If they communicated anything directly with Mary and Denny and Glenwood, they would have. I would assume that they would have sent that to us as well. But since it's not an actual grant commitment right now, it's just it tells us we're on a fundable range. That's the only commitment that we have is that letter that I sent you. See the thick black line that outlines who they've identified as committed as fundable, and then they distribute once all of those are through design. They will then, because not all of them go with the same fiscal year. Some are going to be longer. Some closed last year. We'll close this year now. So we'll get all of our documentation from them once they commit those dollars to the project. Right now, what we have is them looking at the 70-some applications they received and saying these 17 are the ones we're going to commit to funding, grant dollars to. And then once they have reached this barrier, which is through design, we will then sit around a table and talk about what those grant commitments look like, and that's when they start putting stuff in writing. So my request to Mary is, I found our email on July 6th to the town saying they have been selected in the fundable range. And in that email it says, look out for communication from IFA in the next week. So I sent that to our team and Mary's team and said, do we have any documentation on that, after this date that, I can share with you guys, at least show that there's been some communication between the town and the state.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Tom, for those on the council who weren't at that meeting, this is what we talked about last month, that trying to run Connersville Water out to Glenwood. At that meeting, it became clear that the only way that Connersville Utilities can make this happen is if Rushville gets involved and it goes beyond Glenwood. The mayor of Rushville was there, and they said, let's look at some numbers.
Yeah.
If Rushville's not involved, this is a no-go.
It would take a very heavy grant consideration from the state.
Probably
to the tune of 95 to 100%.
Yeah,
and that we need to see.
That's probably going to happen.
It's slim, but I'll never say never. But I don't want to get anybody's hopes up. But
right.
we had projects last year that were they were similar sized towns. They were similar financial distressed communities, and it worked out well for them. So, but I don't make the grant considerations. I say it has happened, and it's not the most likely scenario, but it's also not completely off the table either.
Okay. Well, and Kay and I were part of another meeting where the organization involved with this grant, we both got some pretty good grant experience. The gentleman in that position can't say, we're going to give you the grant. But he said everything but. He said about everything he could say.
Yeah.
Right? So I think we both felt comfortable, tell me if I'm wrong, that they're probably going to get, if this project flies, they're going to get that grant.
Yeah.
This money, there's $1.4 million that they need for project design. that has to keep the project on target as far as a date, they've got to go ahead with. And so that's why Glenwood is seeking a no-interest loan. We can't do 1.4 million in design money. And that's why that meeting was called, and I think Commissioner Strong did a great job pulling everything together, and Tim was there, and Kay was there, and I was there, and I believe Commissioner Munson was there, and Commissioner Beaver too, as well as Commissioner Strong. And what we said in the end was, look, if Rushville can get involved here, and this can go forward, we could do, if there's 3 other partners, we'd like to consider a $350,000 no interest loan for no more than 2 years, no more than 24 months to Glenwood for this design. It would get paid back within that 24-month period of time.
And the realistic time frame is 9 to 12 months, but you know, I want to make sure that we advocate on Glenwood's behalf, and I want to make sure that they have some kind of.
They've got a window, because I mean, I know she and I both know sometimes grants can get delayed, right? So 24 months. So I asked LaVonda, our county treasurer, LaVonda Glover, to get some numbers together for us, because obviously this would eat into our reserves a little bit. And there is a cost to us, because obviously we're getting some interest from this money. We're hoping we can get 5 partners in this. If we get 5 partners, that's 300.
6.
We're 6, right? Okay, so 5 or 6 partners in this, so that we can drop the money needed down. But it would be, so what I think we should look at tonight is $350,000 max for 2 years, no more than 2 years. Now, based on the numbers that LaVonda gave me, and she based it off $1 million, not $350,000. So the numbers are rough here. If we do about a third of what she's got here, it would run us somewhere in the neighborhood of $27,000, $28,000 in interest we wouldn't get during that 2-year period of time. But $28,000 to get water out to Glenwood not only would mean a lot to the Fayette County citizens of Glenwood, it would mean a lot, I think, to our county economic development efforts in terms of the western part of the county. And certainly Connersville Utilities has a lot of supply that they need to sell. And I know there's a little worry about, well, you know, would we have to be careful about limiting our capacity from a Fayette County standpoint? And my point is that if it helps out Rushville, that's great. It's going to help put our people to work too if they decide to go to Rushville. But if water is their biggest concern, it'll be cheaper for them to buy Connersville water in Connersville than it will Connersville water in Rushville. So I wouldn't think that issue is going to be huge long term. I think the risk there is quite minimal. But so that's, I think, what we're seeking tonight from you folks, because they're on a tight time frame, is that we approve a commitment for up to $350,000, no interest, for no more than 24 months.
What if they default in that 24 months? Around $350,000, correct?
Well, I think the risk is pretty minimal here.
And that's that's the state's words. That's not ours or the client's words.
Yeah.
I mean, when we talk to Bill Harkins at SRF, who, I mean, he's the person at SRF. He decides what gets funded, what doesn't get funded, and to what extent. You know, when we spoke with him, his words were, "We do this all the time. I would consider this to be a very low interest or a low risk investment." So, yeah, it obviously every time you're spending money, it's got some risk associated with it. But at least our partner in this is the state, and it's not a bank or you know, somebody that, you know, could just run away with the money and you never see it again.
And Glenwood, I mean, it would be a loan document. Glenwood would be on the hook for the money.
Yeah.
Well, that'd probably have to be something to be negotiated, because you can't rely on that. I mean,
Oh, I understand that.
there's no point in saying Glenwood's gonna be on the hookup for it, because Glenwood don't have it. I can tell you that. So, you know what I mean? Like, so the contract may very well read Glenwood's on the hook for it. You're not getting it. If they run away, SRF runs away, Glenwood's got to come up with 1.4 million to pay everybody. Good luck.
Not gonna happen.
So I don't know that I'd go that route. I do have some concerns. I will tell you something that we haven't discussed. SRF is not giving this loan, or is not giving out this loan money, knowing that the rates are going to have to pay for it. They're just not. The rate, this is a $8, $10, $12 million project. They've got 100 consumers there. It's not going to, it's not, their rates would be, they pay $900 for water, right? SRF's never going to let that happen. So if SRF's approving it at the initial stage, my assumption is that they're intending to give it very, very, very heavy, extremely honey grant.
There might be some, might want to see some buy-in from the town in terms of rates, because they don't like giving away free money just because they're a charity.
No, the rates are going to go up, and my suspicion is Glenwood's going to have extremely high rates, but they'll have clean water that they don't have. I mean, their water is awful right now.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if this were to go south, my worry is not getting paid back this necessarily. My worry is that SRF doesn't fund the whole project and Glenwood gets some kind of mediocre project, and then their rates go sky high to pay these folks off, and they don't get much of a benefit for it. That would be, to me, the catastrophic event. I think we'll get enough monies to get this paid back. It's my concern on if this project, the entire project, doesn't get funded the way I'm hoping it will, then he does well, Glenwood's rates go up crazy, and they don't get much benefit for it. Because he's kind of mentioned before, we could deviate from and doing the entire project and do something to help Glenwood, but
Yeah.
there's just not, the 1.4 million is going to do enough damage to Glenwood's rates. So does that make sense? I don't know if I'm muddying the waters or not. There is, I don't want anyone to go in this room to believe that this is not a risky maneuver. I would prefer you as your counsel to think of this as you are sharing the risk with Glenwood, not, hey, we're not taking any risk because if this falls through, Glenwood's going to pay us. Does that make sense? Like that thought worries me, because I don't know what happens. I don't know at the end of the day if SRF says, yeah, we're going to give you a grant, but we're only going to grant it 60%. Glenwood can't make that work. And then this 1.4 million when they're paying back, I don't know how they're going to pay that back. So if you go into it with, hey, this is good for the county, which I believe strongly it is, it's good for the town of Glenwood, then we're all kind of sharing in the risk. See what I'm saying?
Rush
County, not only Rushville, Rush County
Yeah.
and Rushville are both sharing in. And another, Rush County's economic development was there too. And hopefully they're another entity. So those are all groups that are all sharing in this risk. And there is a push at the state level for regionalization of water. And I think we are on the cutting edge of making that happen, and I think this is a pretty solid project. But I think Rush County has to get involved, but I do want you to think there is risk. But you're not 1.4 million risk. You're, 350,000 is not, we can't risk that, but that's more salvageable.
And I'm hoping it'll be less than that.
Right.
I'm hoping it'll be more like 230.
And also, we've never even, on this project, we've never even approached the IFA or the SRF with the Rushville component. They know about it, but it's not officially documented in any of our PERs or any of the, anything where they would make a judgment call on it. So, ultimately at the end of the day, we said once Rushville became a realistic piece, if it just became a project between Connorsville and Rushville and Glenwood was the beneficiary in the middle, I think all parties would be very happy with that route as well. So I don't know what that will look like. The state might say, well, we've already committed to this project, let's just move forward on it. You guys add whatever you need to get Rushville ready, and then the next phase we take the line to Rushville, and we could work on what that looks like for grant and loan forgiveness on the other side. So, but yeah, what Jeff said is 100% factual as well.
So you're just looking for a motion of, I was backing, going to back the project up to $350,000.
Yeah, because that allows me and the commissioners and the council to then, reach out to our colleagues over in Rush County, which we'll be meeting with them on the 10th, with the council on the 10th, to discuss the exact same thing. And it just gives us that. We already have backing and a commitment from Fayette County. Can we do the same thing in Rush County, and then we move on to, I'm confident that Connorsville is on board as well. Just with talking with the mayor and Brad at the utility. They all have their concerns also, but it's a project they would like to see moving forward.
I'll make the motion then.
What would happen if Connorsville ran out of water, if something happened to our water table? What would happen there? I mean, I've been on economic development before, and they've always talked about water's number one drawing point here.
It is, and when we're doing a water study right now for the city, it would include the Glenwood project. It wouldn't include the Rushville component to that. But with the availability that Connorsville has right now, just as it sits, minus any future upgrades or operating the old plant, making some upgrades at the old plant and bringing it back online. In terms of numbers, I can't give you actual numbers, but it's a very strong water table that you guys sit on. I'd have to talk to my engineers to see what that looks like over a 20-year time span with an increased user such as Rushville. But just and I don't want to speak for Brad, but I don't think Brad would be open to it if that availability wasn't there, at least on paper. So as we dig in more, we'll know more. Know if those numbers that we could actually present to Rushville are good. And we'll have those prior to that meeting. Because we don't want to offer something to Rushville, and then as you start, kicking stones over, you're like, oh, this nowhere near what we could offer them. But we're operating under the assumption from talking with both the mayor and Brad that it's a strong quantity available. That's one of the draws to Connorsville for the economic development side. I'm sure you're aware.
Question. Well, if we sign this up and get it going, if some company comes to Connorsville and needs tons of water, if we can't give them water because of this project,
And you
what I'm saying?
you don't know what you don't know right now, but you have. I'm sure the mayor and the RDC and all the economic development, they have their ideas of what's out there and looking in Connorsville. So we would recommend that when you kind of look at a comprehensive plan, say this is what we kind of expect over the next 20 years to build in Connorsville, and this is the water availability we anticipate needing, and then anything above that is available for wholesale out of the county, or but if they have an extra 5 million gallons a day that's sitting there that they could sell, 2 million is not gonna. Yeah, it's gonna bring it down. But it's not gonna.
They've always promoted the water in Connorsville for a drawing point. It's never worked yet, so you're probably better off selling it now. Why they say something in the hand's better than.
Well, listen, I really think it's a good economic development benefit to us, because most of what we have available, and Dan Parker's sitting here, tell me if I'm wrong, but most of what we have available is existing buildings. We're very limited when it comes to green space that might be available for lots of different purposes.
Only green space, just not available.
It's just not available, right? If we run water from Connorsville to Glenwood, that land is awfully flat. It sits on a railroad. While we've got a wonderful short line that does add cost to a project that companies wouldn't have to deal with. So I think it's for lots of different reasons, not just manufacturing, but I can see where it might benefit agriculture and you know, residential, future residential opportunities. And in terms of, hey, what if we send so much to Rushville that we don't have enough here? I think that's limited because, you know, companies interested in that kind of water, if water's their deal, they're more likely to want to buy it in Connersville because it'll be cheaper than buying Connersville water from Rushville. You see what I mean? So I don't think that's really. I think that risk is awfully minimal from an economic development standpoint. And like he said, there's lots of regionalizations going on, whether we're talking about grants or water or economic development efforts.
The state needs a water win too. They're not. I don't know if you follow the news at all with what's going on in Lebanon. They're not. They haven't made a lot of great decisions when it comes to a lot of their economic development and water supply. So, you know, you guys are kind of on might catch a good wind here from you know, some other mishaps around the state, because you do have the water. The water is abundant here. I don't know to what extent. I can certainly. Once we talk with Brad and his team next week, we can certainly update the council on what those numbers look like from the county side, from the city side. Both, you know, what they currently have, what is potential, and, you know, what after, you know, some upgrades to the current system in the old plant, what that will all look like.
And the reason they're coming to us first is because we meet before everybody else does, and they're kind of on a time frame, and that's why we need to do this. Now, Mike, I heard Mike make a motion to do this. Yeah. I'll second it if there's no other questions or concerns.
Are there any other questions from the council? Okay, we've had a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved.
I will keep everybody updated. We kind of have a work. I think everybody on the council is on the email that I sent out one today. If not, I can add anybody that I'm missing. But we'll just keep you updated as we meet with Connersville team, as we meet with Rushville on the 10th next week, or Rush County on the 10th, and then after we have our meeting with Mayor Pavey and his team. I'll try to keep everybody updated as we move forward. When there's a need for a meeting, we'll have a meeting to discuss kind of the next steps.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Now we need to approve the encumbrances from 2023 budget in the amount of $53,216.77. Does everyone have one of these?
In the email.
Yeah, it was in the email.
Did you make the motion, Mike? I'm sorry.
Yes, Mike made the motion.
Second.
Tim. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moved. Okay. Okay, and then for the council appointment, the appointments for board of, or the commission, does anyone want to make a change? We have, right. Scott Bevington, you're on the Fayette County Economic Development Board. Your term was up on December 31st, 23. Do you want to continue on that?
I'd be happy to continue if the council would like to have me.
Okay. Now, do we vote on that, or if he wants to stay on that, we can just stay there, right?
They'll, sorry. I was gonna say they'll need to be voted on, but if you wanted to like go through all of them and then vote at one time or something, you could.
Okay. All right, and then the next would be the Eastern Indiana Regional Planning Commissioner, Tim Patterson. Would
I'll
you like to
stay.
stay? Okay. The Fayette County Alcoholic Beverage Board, that was, his was up, Sam Harvey.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody thought to contact him to ask if he was willing to, so his would have to be, what, provisional? Assuming that he's willing to continue, you could vote to keep him in that position.
Okay. The next would be the Fayette County Extension Board, Kay Riker Payton. You want to stay on that? Okay. Fayette County 4-H Council, Kay Riker Payton. Okay, that Fayette County E91 Advisory Board, that would be myself, and yes, I will stay on that. And the next would be Fayette County Tax Abatement Advisory Committee, which Vivian Heimlich was on that committee. So is there someone on this board that would like to?
Should be Mike.
Pardon me? Mike? Is that something that you would want to do?
I'd love to.
Okay. So we'll put Mr. Winter. And then the Fayette County Solid Waste Board, which mine's, it's not up to 26. So we go ahead and just approve the recommendations for these committees, since everyone wants to stay on. And then,
See if, you might see if anybody has any thoughts or changes, but if nobody does, then you can just pass
okay,
them over.
are there any thoughts or changes that anyone wants to make on any of these committees or boards?
Just like keep it the same, and wherever Vivian was, I'll take her spot.
Okay.
Waiting for Sam to respond back.
Okay, did you text him?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Okay. Should we wait until he responds or go ahead and move?
If he decides he doesn't want it the next month, you can just appoint somebody.
We'll just appoint someone. Okay. So if everyone, okay, what we will do then is, do we do a roll call or just an overall? Okay. Does anyone make a motion to pass what we've,
So moved.
Mike? Okay. Yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Okay, are there any other things that we need to discuss? Are we done? Anyone would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So move.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.